All right, all right, all right.
All right.
Yeah, you like that intro?
It was pretty
good.
I like it.
It sucked. But anyway, as embarrassing as that intro was, like that segue,
Oh, shit.
this makes no sense because I haven't said what the hell it's about yet,
Oh.
so the segue means nothing.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, totally lost my train of thought. we're talking about the top 5 most embarrassing childhood moments. And this was an embarrassing adult moment,
Yep.
so there you have that. But anyway, we're talking about that. We've been kind of digging into our past as of late, so might as well make this. And yeah, you have an honorable mention. I hear.
I have one honorable mention.
All right, hit it.
And when I was a child, a chitlin, as they say, no one says that.
That's horribly racist, but okay.
I used to be a Bat fan, right? Batman fan. I used to have Batman toys.
All right.
I used to be a Beetlejuice fan. I used to have Beetlejuice toys.
All right.
Only the mini head because we're poor, and that's the only one people would throw away. So in my dump,
they would throw it away.
In my dump rummaging endeavors, I found a mini head, and I was lucky enough to get a Batman at some point, probably from a kid who was sad at me or some shit.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there once. I remember it so perfectly in my head. I was sitting next to my shelf. The air was on. I was starting to get a headache because of the air. This is not important, but I just remember it. And I looked at the back of my mini head Fig, which sucks ass, by the way. I don't know why I thought it was so cool.
It was terrible.
And it had a Kenner stamp on it, Kenner made it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Kenner. I don't know what that means, but that's cool. And then I looked at the back of my Bat figure, and I was like, oh, shit, Kenner? And then I looked at the back of my Joker figure. I was like, oh, shit, Kenner?
Your mind exploded.
All the figures I had at that point were Kenner related. So for the longest time, I thought Kenner was like the coolest company of all time. And I remember, that's not too bad though. You're a kid, you're like, okay, Kenner's cool.
I mean, you don't know.
There's a lot of people who still like Kenner to this day. But I remember I felt heartbroken, like my heart exploded. Several weeks later when we were reading a Toy Fair. I don't know if anybody remembers those, Toy Fair magazine. And for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know what made you say this, but you said out loud, man, Kenner sucks. And I remember being like super sad. I was like, oh. And I remember I had to I'm not sure if I agreed with you then, but after that I was like, oh yeah, Kenner's shit.
You went with the flow.
Yeah, and I was really
Kenner,
like,
fuck Kenner, man. Fuck this mini head. And you did the right thing and threw it away like everybody else did.
I had like 4 of them at one point.
Yeah, that thing, I mean, that was like the E.T. cartridge of toys.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mr. Littlehead.
So my belief that Kenner was the coolest thing ever and my subsequent heartache.
Pretty embarrassing.
Pretty bad.
But that's kind of, you kept it to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, my honorable mention is not something that happened to me during childhood, but it still embarrasses me to this day. It happened when I was young, like I was in my early 20s. So it's kind of a cheat. That's why it's an honorable mention. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a kid. But it's so embarrassing. It still embarrasses me. Now, to you, it's probably going to be like, whatever. But to this day, when I think about it, like, I go, it's like I ate a lemon. I cringe to the max. Mm-hmm. But me and a couple friends, we went to a metal concert. And one of the opening acts was a metal band that I thoroughly enjoyed. But I had just discovered. I had discovered them like maybe 2 months prior. And they've since broken up, but at the time they had a number of albums, and I had, like I said, 2 months of exposure to them. I loved their material, still do, but I wasn't too familiar with it, And I'm bad enough with lyrics as it is.
God, I just thought of one.
I mean, I'm horrible with lyrics.
Yeah.
But, here I am at this fucking concert. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. I can't believe they're the opening act. Cool. The band was, by the way, called Himza. And I'm like, man, I'm into it, man. I'm front row, just moshing, bobbing, weaving, whatever it takes. I'm up there. And John Pettibone, the singer of Himza, like, he fucking spots me in this crowd, man. And he's like, yeah, that guy right there. Look at how fucking into it he is. He points at me. At the time, coincidentally, he was shaved and he had a beard. And I was in a similar tone. And he was like, yeah, man, that guy right there. Fuck yeah. And then I'm not blowing that out of proportion, right? This goes on. He comes down to the railing to sing closer to the crowd, and he picks me to put his hand on top of to support himself. You know, so he's got his hand on top of my head and he's like singing and crap. He's into it, baby. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man, this is badass, right? Then he continues throughout the show to lock horns with me. You know, he comes up to me, grabs me, and we're jumping together, all this shit, right? And I'm like, man, this is bad fucking ass. Then the dreaded moment happens. Okay, well, first, let me preface this by this. Before the dreaded moment this happened, he goes into the crowd to mosh, and he gives me his microphone to hold on while he moshes, right? And I'm like, damn, this confirmation, this motherfucker likes my ass as a fan, right? I'm like, fuck yeah, I got John Pettibone's microphone, bitches. So anyway, he comes out of the mosh. I give him his mic back. He sings again. And in the midst of the song, mid-fucking lyric, he stuffs that microphone right in my face. And you got to remember, I don't know one stinking lyric, you know?
Ooh.
I don't know one damn lyric. Now, this is a metal band with a very heavy approach. So I wing it. I just make incoherent growling noises into the microphone. And of course, I'm in a room full of seasoned metal fans, you know. They can understand the growl and the, you know, words. There's big difference. And woo boy, he held that bad boy. And, oh, here's what makes it worse. Here's what makes me cringe the most. You know, he's getting fed his microphone feed into his ear. So he knows that, that I'm bullshitting through that fucking entire lyric. And anyway, he kind of like gingerly plucks it away after a while, and then he continues the song. And I'm like, man. And I look over to my friend's girlfriend, and she goes, yeah, I did pretty good. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just bullshit through all that shit. That's awful. And then I turn around, and there's like this group of people who are laughing, and I can't imagine any other reason for them laughing other than I just made a fool of myself. But anyway, that still fucking hurts me to this day.
Pretty bad.
I will say this. After the concert, I was headed out, and John Pettibone actually spotted me and brought me over to give me a hug, sign my shit, and, you know, so that was cool. But
and it was like, what the hell was that shit, dude?
Yeah. You probably thought I was, like, retarded, and he was like, well, might as well give this guy a hug.
Yeah.
But anyway, that didn't happen to me as a kid. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The kid stuff. Number 5.
Okay, last minute, I'm going to make a change and combine one with another one because they are related.
Doesn't matter. Give me number 5.
And add this one because I remembered it through your story. It's kind of related. Not really, but it's similar. I was in Walmart once looking at films. All right. Hit films, if you will. And this, like, older gentleman comes up to me and is, like, really nice. And he's like, mind you, I'm like a kid.
Oh, man. I already know where this one's going.
He's, like, talking to me for, like 20 minutes straight about movies, and for the most part I'm like, oh yeah, I know that, you know. There were some that I bullshit my way through, but it was all successful. It was all pretty successful bullshitting until he goes, well, he asked like, who's your favorite actor or whatever, and I'm like, oh, you know, I don't remember what I said. I said some stupid shit because I was a kid, and he's like, oh yeah, mine's Gene Hackman, and I'm like, thinking, I guess I didn't know who he was, and the closest relation was this other person. I thought he had said Hugh Jackman. So I was like, oh yeah, the Wolverine. And he just like you could see the entire freaking, like, any shred of respect or niceness in this dude's face just went away. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you know, Wolverine, he's pretty cool. I like him. Oh, man. And he's just like, I don't know what happened after this, but I think he just said, like, yeah, and then just walked away.
he destroyed his hope in you.
And I was like, oh, man. And the thing that made it worse is it was, like, instant. Like, it wasn't for a while. I was like, oh, yeah, that was good. I don't get why he left. I instantly noticed my mistake because I picked up the movie he was pointing at, and I was like, how's this old piece of shit? Oh, that's Gene Hackman! The fuck?
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that was bad.
That's pretty bad.
Woo.
Coincidentally, Gene Hackman played a character called Popeye, which
right.
you love. So now you have to know.
Oh, shit. It all comes full circle.
It wasn't that Popeye, though, so don't get too excited.
Oh.
All right, yeah, well, that's pretty embarrassing. I thought you were going to refer to the time when you were accosted in the movie section by some guy that hugged you incessantly.
Yeah, that was also pretty weird.
Yeah.
It was more,
I mean, that's more
terrifying.
cringy terrifying than...
The guy literally held me for like 5 minutes straight. You come from around the corner, look at me, and I'm like, help. I'm just stiff. I'm like, help. And you're just like, All right, and you walk away, and I'm like, God damn it! Eventually, I sluice myself free and find you, and I'm like, freaking serious, dude?
So pedophile, was that your number 5? Or was
Yeah,
that still, okay. All right, my number 5 is something that I did in junior high school. I was in the gifted and talented class. We were given an assignment to basically sell. We were supposed to film a fake commercial where we sold a modern product while being in the guise of somebody in history, and we were supposed to sell it to our compatriots in that particular historical period. So we were given the time frame of late 1800s America, okay, and we were I forgot what we were supposed to be selling, but we went and we filmed this commercial, and it was me, a chick, and a dude named Mike, and Mike was a black kid. He was the only black kid in school, by the way. And Mike
was a freaking wasp.
Yeah, the wasp is back. But anyway, anyway, Mike is the only black kid in school. He was a really cool guy, though. He had a really good sense of humor, so I'm glad that was out of the way. But in my ignorance, I mean, I was aware of racism and slavery and all that stuff.
It's pretty bad.
But for some fucking reason, in my childhood ignorance, I thought this was completely fine approach to this commercial assignment. So I came up with a scenario that me and the chick would be playing, kind of like frontiers people, basically, and Mike would be our slave named Amos. Yep. So we filmed the commercial, we hawked the product, whatever it was, and he went along with it, mind you. He played Amos, who was shirtless and tied.
Ooh.
What
was his line?
Oh my! He only had one line, and that was to agree with me about the product. And his line, as written, was "Yesa massa."
That's good.
After I tugged the rope around his neck. Now, mind you, the rope was not like a hanging rope.
That would have been worse.
It was like a pet rope, but that's awful too.
That's pretty bad.
And here's the capper to all this embarrassing bullshit.
Yeah, this is kind of important to mention.
Is that the teacher was also black.
Yep.
And she sat there and watched this, and to her credit, she didn't say shit, She gave us a good grade and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know what. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think it was offensive, though. We just did it, and I thought it was, this is cool. This is what they would do back then. Which I guess they would do that back then. But the point is, it's inexcusable. It's horrible. And pretty damn embarrassing.
It's pretty bad.
Anyway, let's get to your number 4.
It's pretty good, though. And this thing is not unlocking. There we go.
All right, that's horrible preparation skills.
So, okay, my next one is, okay. When I was a child, I obviously, as the freaking title mentions, that was good. We used to watch a lot of telenovelas, Mexican soap operas, because we're Mexican and Grandma used to love them. And for the longest time, when you watch a novela, there's always a villain who shoots from the hip and says some shitty ass lines, and then he shoots a guy.
Now, to be clear, shoot from the hip, not as in he says what's on his mind, as in
no,
he literally shoots from the hip.
And he'll shoot a guy and then be like, "This is why you suck." The guy's still alive.
Yeah.
And then he shoots him again. That's when the guy dies.
Right.
For the longest freaking time, I thought that it was impossible for a human to die from one gunshot.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
Like, for the longest time. To the point that I would carry it over to, like, school when you would play with your stupid-ass friends with your little guns and shit. I would always do 2 because that was, like, the defining...
the punctuation.
Yeah, it was like, you're dead, piece of shit. Come back from 2. And I remember one time I saw a movie with you in which someone gets shot in the head. And I was like, oh, shit, that, like, changed. That rocked my world a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, so it's 2 gunshots anywhere else, 1 in the head. That makes sense. But then I saw a movie where just someone died with like a regular ass gunshot, and I was like, "What? That's not right." And I was so confused, and like my whole world fell apart. So yeah, I believed that for like years.
On a similar note, I used to believe that stuff in the past was in black and white, like literally stuff from like the 50s back was all it was black and white. Like, we see color now, but back then, it was... Mind you, I was a kid, too, but still, that's pretty fucking
bad,
stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, I never said that, so now I'm embarrassed versus to then.
Yep.
But anyway, Okay, well, my number 4 has to do with micturation, namely of myself. And yeah, when I was a youngin in first grade, I believe, we used to have this activity period where we would all go back to the class, the back of the class, and we would sit in these long tables. You know, there was 3 tables for 3 groups of people, and there was 3 computers, one for each table. And we would do an assignment, and then each of us would get up one by one and go to our respective computer and take a test about the assignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like number 4 in line to go take the test. Anyway, that's the setup. The kicker here is that I had to pee since like the morning that day, and man, it was killing me. And for some reason, when I was a kid, I didn't go to the restroom in school. I just wouldn't do it. I don't know why. I never was uncomfortable until that day. That day, I had to bust, man. I was like, man, I'm literally gonna flood over here. My kidneys are gonna burst. Something's gonna happen. I have to pee. But I refused to go to the restroom for some reason. To ask to go to the restroom. So anyway, my turn to go to the computer. I go and sit in this hard plastic shell seat, and I'm taking this test, and I'm so distracted by my bladder about to fucking rupture that I'm like, that's it, man. I'm peeing. I'm peeing right here, right now. And you know what? I'm wearing warm-ups. That's gonna soak up all the pee.
God.
By the time I get home, because it was almost a few hours till I got home. By the time I get home, it won't have dried, so there won't be any smell. My kid logic was this is a fail-safe plan. So I unload, man, and the bladder is, I mean, phew, that sucker must have been pretty distended, because that was a lot of pee, and these warm-ups did not pick it up.
Mm-mm.
All right, but I soak that sucker up as much as I can. I get up confident.
Like
Yeah, I do a little rub action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident that I cleaned up after myself, and I go back and sit in my chair over here with the group. And the next guy goes and takes the test. Well, a few minutes later, he comes and sits down and in front of everybody. Goes, "You peed in the chair," and I'm like, "Oh my god, no, no!" And of course, I denied it, but it was pretty obvious I peed in the chair. One, because his pants were soaked as well. Then I went as far as to accuse the person before me of peeing in the chair, which of course went out the window because their pants were fucking dry versus my sponges that I was that I was fucking wearing. So yeah, that was pretty fucking embarrassing. That sucked ass.
That's pretty bad.
So what number are we on? You're number 3?
I don't even. Yeah, 3.
All right. How about we cut it here and we do a part 2? Our last 3. Top 3, I guess.
Yeah,
embarrassing
those are
childhood
pretty
moments.
bad too.
All right.